The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Jess Navarez, Aisha Morrison, Kelsey Charles, and Jane Slater.
Hello, ladies. We had football on our TVs last night. I had quite a few adult beverages while I enjoyed said football. Kelsey is down in Austin for the Texas-Alabama game, and I think we're all hyped up for the Cowboys to open up their season at AT&T Stadium. We got some good news from Mike McCarthy. I know that there was a bit of a cleat gate yesterday as we talked about Dak Prescott. Reporters had questions for Mike. Here's what he had to say about Dak's availability and where that ankle's at.
I just think, once again, high caution. We do it with all the players. There's always exams or, things that go on that, we react to everything. I think that's just the nature of the game. And so really, I know the importance of Dak and the quarterback position, but it's really standard process, standard procedure, to go through that anytime a player has an issue.
We react to everything too, Mike. And I loved this follow-up question from my guy Todd Archer over at ESPN, because we were all thinking about it. The locker room's right there. We could have solved this mystery a lot quicker.
I do not own the Jordan 11s, but I'll just say that, he's going to be a full participant today. I anticipate it'll be the same tomorrow. So I don't have any concern about him playing Sunday.
All right. So basically, the question there though was, why not just go into the locker room?
Yeah.
Just go get a new pair of shoes. But the fact that it was that ankle that had been surgically repaired twice was why I think a lot of us were sort of. Some of our spidey senses were going off. Mm-hmm. Oh, God, here we go.
The sky is falling.
The sky is falling, but it sounds like, he's going back to his J1s and no more 11s on those feet. How did it feel for you guys to hear some of that news today? Aisha, we'll start with you.
I mean, I was happy. I was obviously happy, but I wasn't super panicky about it anyway. Just being kind of a sneaker person and understanding, like, if you don't break them things in, what are you doing? And you could tell with some of the interviews. I had listened to Mike McCarthy's interview with 105.3 The Fan. You could tell that they weren't super panicked about it, but they were like, why would you do that today? Why would you do that today? Why would you do that today? So I do feel better about it, and I'm confident he's going to be fine. Yeah, I want to see him play, though.
Yeah, I was never really worried about it, especially hearing Dak's response to you yesterday, Jane. I was like, nah, he's fine. I think the tone would have been much different from him if he wasn't, and I think he wouldn't have laughed it off as much as he was if it was a serious thing.
Mm-hmm. But so, Kelsey, we've seen him do this before. That's why
everybody got PTSD out here.
I know. No, I get it.
Kelsey,
I totally
literally, we've seen him do this at training camp with the shoulder, and so that's why I was.
But it was
that's why I just thought it was interesting.
It was a great question on your end to ask him, but I think his response and how he's like, but I came back and I said that I didn't know at the time.
He definitely was like
he handled that
taking
well.
accountability for it and stuff like that. But I'm happy that Mike McCarthy said that this morning he went down, saw him, that everything looked okay, because Lord knows we need him.
Well, it was floating around, Kelsey, too, that he might have even had a blister, and we haven't been able to confirm any of that. I don't know if you guys have ever, because I wear ill-fitting shoes all the time. They look cute in the store, and then you wear them 12 hours a game day, and it's rough. Kelsey and I already explained that, I know we've used the lidocaine. I always take extra Band-Aids on a 14-hour workday. It's hard to play even if you happen to have a few blisters on your feet.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I'm wearing these boots today.
Boots.
Yeah.
I'm wearing boots today, and these are hurting just walking down to get in here. Yeah. So I feel the blisters coming, and Dak, we're right there with you with the blister situation.
And again, if he has a blister, we haven't been able to confirm that. So I don't want that to be tweeted out that
he's ready to
that
go.
He's playing with blisters on his feet.
We don't know.
But
right.
I don't know. I guess my biggest concern though is if a cleat, Kelsey, is creating some tightness in that ankle. Now you're going to put him behind this offensive line and this Bucs pass rush. That's, I think, what concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, me too. Again, like you said, we've seen this happen before. I think Dak has that warrior mindset where, you always hear after the season, you're like, oh, Zeke Elliott was playing with this. This person was playing with that. And it honestly, guys, it very well could be that, And I think that when you look at, I remember talking to Travis Frederick one time, and he was telling me, he's like, honestly, going through a week of practice, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. And so I think the mentality of a player when he's like, I'm A-okay, their level of I'm good to play, I feel like is different than our level of, when you would consider yourself 100%, right? How can you possibly be 100% when you're enduring that type of physicality on the daily?
Right.
So I think there's that factor. I honestly, again, I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. The fact that he didn't walk into the locker room and get something fixed, I'm like, I don't know. That just sits weird with me. I'm going to trust him either way. I trust his training staff. But, if it's blisters, I recommend moleskin. I am currently stretching out my boots for tomorrow as we speak on this show. So, listen, I don't know. I feel good about his odds, but I am concerned because I feel like every single factor that goes into this game needs to be pretty darn perfect for them to be able to beat Tampa Bay.
I also think that just we're not used to seeing. Last year was a lot because Dak hasn't really been injured in his career. And then to see, obviously the ankle the year before, and then we had the shoulder. I think
and
people
then the calf.
are tracking that.
Yeah.
I think people are just on higher alert about, QB1 because we understand that without him, there's not a lot to just be super excited about. Well, I
You're
think
not
that
fired
a lot
up
of
for
people
Cooper Rush?
Listen, don't play with me. Don't play with me.
I mean,
here's the thing,
you
too,
saw
though.
what he did in Minnesota, Aisha.
Spare me.
And
There's not
even just being a Cowboys fan, growing up and watching them, you're kind of trained to be a little worried when your quarterback gets injured.
That's
just
everybody,
a conditioning
Right.
thing.
That's just everybody.
I just feel like you go back to the Tony Romo era, and you were just every hit he got, you were kind of just clinching to your seat, hoping it was okay. And so I think after the ankle injury specifically for Dak, it kind of brought back that, oh man, that really took nothing for him to get that large of an injury. And so now we're kind of back to the OG days of, oh, please protect Dak. Please surround him with the greatest O-line you can ever have. And it's not.
But
and
I don't want to play scared, though.
Again, and that's the thing is, we know the circumstances going in with the O-line. We know what Dak has and what he does not have when it comes to this offensive line. And I think that is exactly why it created the hysteria yesterday, was because we've all been following this O-line situation with Tyron Smith going down since it all happened. And I think that, had that not had a factor in that, I think if that hadn't played out like that, it wouldn't have been blown up as much as it was yesterday. It still would have been blown up, just not to that extent that the sky is falling, the world is ending kind of thing.
Because my concern is if that ankle is giving him any problems, he's likely going to be running around, scrambling. He's going to be pretty mobile on Sunday, given what he's got with the offensive line and the pass rush. And so, to your point, Kelsey, I think we're sort of looking at all these factors really need to line up for the Cowboys in order to have the chance of a win against a guy like Tom Brady. But, I mean, we'll get into it here in a little bit. The Bucs aren't at full strength. And so let me go through the injury report that just came out. So for the Cowboys side, Michael Gallup has been ruled out. That is not a shock at all. Mm-hmm. Jaron Kearse this week had a shoulder issue. We were seeing some of that in practice, and he is listed as questionable now. He did not practice on Friday, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But when we're talking about the Bucs, Chris Godwin is still dealing with this knee situation of his.
Yeah. And
then Russell Gage, he's got the hamstring. They're both considered questionable heading into this game. And then when we were talking about the offensive line for the Bucs, their interior is either lacking experience or they're new faces because they had retirement, injury, and free agency affect their offensive line. And as I explained yesterday, Dak has not gotten a lot of time behind this offensive line. And then when you talk about the receiving core that they had last year heading into week one, he had Antonio Brown. He had, obviously Mike Evans. So and that you don't have Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski has been a bit of a blanket for
a whoopee.
So when you look at, let's see, in week 1 of 2022, this was the receiver stats by yards. Antonio Brown, 121 yards. Not going to have that this year. Chris Godwin, 105 yards. He's questionable. Rob Gronkowski had 90. You don't have him this week. So something to keep an eye on. You know, we're sitting here because it's Tom Brady, but I've been covering games where when Tom Brady is expected to do a lot, he struggles a bit. And a shout out to our boy Patrick Walker, who's now in the building. He had some really, really great nuggets that I wanted to highlight. I love that he's always getting into the science. So shout out to our boy.
Yes. The scientist.
But he had some interesting nuggets about just Tom Brady on the road and in domes. So this was some good stuff here. He said, I did not almost say the 4-letter word there.
No, you did not. We didn't hear a thing.
I had a little cough in my throat as I'm finding the tweet here. They're like, wait, we need the dump button for her. Where is it? All right.
The first week.
I actually love that you're looking this up, though, because this reminds me, I feel like it was like Peyton Manning or someone, when he would play, they were like, he can't play in cold weather. You know, like I was like, how are we even thinking about this? I love that so much, though, but like that's the thing that people look at with quarterbacks. I really think it was Peyton Manning. Like they were like, he can't play outside. Like he can only play indoors really well. Like he cannot play outside, and obviously goes to Denver and wins the championship. But like, what do we know?
Well, I've got some answers for you, Kelsey, via Patrick Walker. 45% of the games that Tom Brady has lost have been on the road. 46% of the games that he's lost have been inside domes. So I thought that was interesting. And also primetime. 45% of the games that he's lost have been in primetime. So just something to keep an eye on. I'm like, shout out to Patrick Walker. But if you're looking for this ray of sunshine, a sliver of hope, I just think those are some things that we should highlight as we talk about this team and some of the deficiencies that Tom Brady's actually dealing with outside of the stuff that he's been dealing with off the field, Aisha.
Yeah, so you mentioned Jaron Curse, and that's actually one of the matchups that I've really been looking at is the Cowboys linebackers and their linebackers in coverage, dropping in coverage, dealing with in their tight ends and the Bucs tight ends. I think that when you look at Tom Brady, I looked at some of his tape last year. You know, they attack the middle of the field a lot, especially when you're trying to just get intermediate passing because you're just trying to get the ball out quickly like he's doing. So I expect for him to be trying to attack a lot of the middle of the field. So the safeties, the Cowboys safeties, and the linebackers got to come to play. So hearing that news about Jaron Curse is a little not fun to me, but obviously we do have there is a Marquise Bell that's in the wings that's been working really hard to get in here and hopefully step in that role if necessary. I like the Cowboys' secondary's chances against the Bucs receiver core, and I say that because when you look at Trayvon Diggs and you look at Anthony Brown, really the guys that give them trouble are speedy, shifty guys. But there's been a lot of talk about the size on the Bucs receiver core and how much bigger they are than the gentlemen that play for the Cowboys. And you look at that, and a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to be able to just catch balls over. No, one thing that the Cowboys do very well is play man. They play press. So I'm hoping to see a lot of bump and run, like get them off their mark, make sure like concentration drops because the Cowboys are getting them off their game at the line of scrimmage. Hopefully some coverage sacks. I mean, because Tom Brady's going to be trying to get the ball out. And if the defensive line cannot get to them, if that secondary holds up, makes them do another read, that could be a sack for a Micah, for a Osa, for a Neville, whoever though that is. So I'm really also looking at these DTs. The Cowboys drafted pretty defensively heavy last year. You could tell that Dan Quinn has a reputation. Also, credit to Coach D. I can't say his name. I don't want to ruin it. The defensive line.
Dirty.
Yes, Coach Dirty. Credit to them. You could tell they had a plan for stopping the run. And we've been talking about this after that Rams game a couple years ago.
They did a good job of shutting down the run last year, too, if you look back at that Bucs game.
Yes, absolutely. The Bucs didn't have a lot of success, and the Bucs aren't a team that's just coming out to try to run the ball downhill at you. That's not what they are, and that's not what they were last year for the most part. And when they tried to do that, they didn't see a lot of success there in the run game. So I'm definitely looking at the DTs in this game. I think this is such a prove-it prove-it season for so many players. You're looking at Dalton Schultz going into he's on that franchise tag right now. There's guys on this team that are trying to make a statement and show who they are. J-Ron Curse, we talked about, can you do it again? Was last year a fluke? The defense as a whole, was this a fluke? Is this Kamate Turpin coming in from the USC? He's trying to prove what they're. So I feel like there's a lot of edge in this locker room and what they want to do. So I think the defense has the opportunity to have a Bills showing. I do.
Well, when you look at last year, because I do think defense is going to be key here. And I also think we talked about this. Special teams was such a factor last year in this matchup. If you look at it, defense in year one with Dan Quinn, and think how much better they got as the season went on. In third down efficiency, Bucs were only 5 of 11. And when we look at their rushing attempts, they had 14 rushing attempts. They were only averaging 3.7 yards per rush, and they only had 52 yards rushing, which was about the same when you look at the Cowboys. They weren't too far off. So what they were doing defensively to the Cowboys were also doing that back defensively to the Bucs. And so I think you can expect a very similar game.
Yes.
I think my biggest question for Dallas, because I do think they're going to shut down the run, is how much trust do you have in this young receiving core who has not had a lot of experience finding the end zone.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on heading into this one.
Yeah, definitely. And so, hearing, I think, a lot of the press conferences and the players in the locker room from the Bucs side of things, they're aware of, one, both the strengths that we have within the defense, and two, a weakness, if you will, with the younger team. However, the thing is like you said, it would be much different if they didn't have things to prove. Because even some of the veterans, Dalton Schultz, exactly right on the money with that franchise tag. I'm so glad you brought that up, Aisha, because there's a lot of people that have to prove a lot of things, right? Micah Parsons even, and we know he's going to step up and do it, but hey, was this just first-year luck, or are you going to take that second-year leap like everybody likes to talk about as well, right? So I think it's always interesting because I've honed in on Tom Brady this week. I want to see what he's saying. I want to get a feel for, his mentality and where he is mentally right now. And, we touched base on this yesterday, but even the press conference he had this morning, something's up with him, and it doesn't seem like mentally he is like he normally is, and we'll get into that a little bit later from Tales on the Other Side. But
yeah, and let's do that on the other side. Let's go ahead and take a break, Kelsey. Yep. I know we've got you down there. I want to get you to weigh in as you join us here on the phone, but let's get into for those of you who have not been keeping your ears and your eyes open as to what's going on the Bucs side, we'll give you some tales from the other side, the tales of the tape. We come back on the other side of the break.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Little Sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. lost on something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Welcome back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Jane Slater of the NFL Network, joined by Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, and we've got Kelsey Charles on the phone from Austin as she works the Texas-Alabama game. Look, as I was saying before the break, a lot of Cowboy fans don't have the time nor the interest, I would imagine in some cases, or the inclination to sort of check what's going on in Tampa Bay, but it is important as it relates to the game. We've been talking a lot about Tom Brady's mindset, and you were listening into some of the press conferences and pulled some interesting sound for us, Jess.
Yeah, hey, so here's the thing. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm honing in on Tom Brady because of everything going on. I really want to see where his head is, if you can. It's kind of hard to read. I feel like he does have a good poker face, but today's press conference just seemed a little off, if you will. So let's start with what he did say the Cowboys' strengths were. And I'm going to go ahead and have our amazing producer, Jasmine, she's going to go ahead and roll that clip for us.
They rush the passer. I think they have a good scheme. They mix things up quite a bit. We're playing them at home. They've got a very good offense, so they're a tough team to beat. And, it's going to be a big challenge for the opener.
So Tom Brady went on to mention, again, this is the third time this week I've heard him mention these names. Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons. That tells me those are fresh in his mind to the two people he's going to be honed in on, trying to avoid, really. So we heard that. But the most interesting thing that I think jumped out to me about Tom Brady and his press conference today was we talked about this, I believe, yesterday with Micah Parsons' comments about Tom Brady likes to step on people's throats like a roach, right? And that's funny. It's all in good spirit. It's all in good fun.
Speaking about his level of competition.
Yes. Correct. And Micah Parsons likes to have fun with it. And usually I feel like Tom Brady does, too. I feel like Tom Brady takes those kind of comments. He laughs about it. He says something else, and it's one of those moments that when you're watching, it's fun to listen to, and it adds to the camaraderie. But I want you to take a listen to what Tom's response was when reporters asked him about Micah's comment.
Oh man, that's interesting. Yeah, I just try to go win. So at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. Just trying to go out there and do my job as best I can. But I'm going out there with a lot of good players. That's the best part for me as a competitor.
He's just not having a lot of fun right now.
I just find it like you're forcing somebody to laugh at something, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
you cannot
so funny.
tell me something's not wrong with him.
Like, what are you hearing? Because I know you and I both have reporter friends that are covering it in the market. We have Brianna Dix, who used to work for the Cowboys. She's down there. I've got Jenna Lane, Sarah Walsh, and I've sort of been touching base with them, and I brought up some of the comments that he looks skinnier. There's something definitely off. What are you hearing, Kelsey?
Yeah, so actually I had a conversation with one of my girlfriends this morning, Carmen Vitelli with Fox Sports, and she actually was the beat reporter for the team for several years. She's super tight with a lot of those guys, especially on the O-line. And she was telling me, she's like, listen, they definitely are acknowledging something's off, but absolutely no one is concerned. She was like, she literally talked to Todd Bowles herself, and he was like, the man's been in the league for how many years? He's won how many Super Bowls? And he's been to how many more? If he needs 11 days off for a personal reason, I'm going to give it to him. So at least they're portraying that they're not concerned. The one thing that I did love, though, is that when she was talking to the O-line, because, again, we've made a lot of emphasis on this week, and I think rightfully so. Mm-hmm. But she told me that they literally said, we can go be aggressive, and we can actually be way more competent in our roles because we trust that if something starts to fall apart and we slip up, he's going to get away and he'll be fine. I feel like he really is the epitome of a quarterback that makes the team around him better. And despite what is very obviously going on with Tom, whatever it may be, people are just chalking it up to hey, he needs a minute. We still 100% feel good about this weekend. We have a lot of confidence in this game. And we're not worried. So that's really one of the big things that I've heard. Tampa Bay feels pretty good about this weekend.
Yeah, and I just think it's interesting to even hear his tone of voice, right? We didn't see video, and I was watching video. He kind of looked, he kind of paused, half smirked, and was like, anyways.
He just feels like especially in the press conferences, he'd rather be anywhere but there.
Yeah.
And there used to be sort of a joy about everything that went into football with him, right? Like, even his Instagram feels forced. Like, he's clearly got these ads that he has to roll out for his various businesses, and even they feel forced right now. Again, maybe I'm reading into it. It's just I've covered Tom, and, you know, when he's obviously played in Tampa, I cover 31 other teams besides the Cowboys, and it just feels a little different. And, you know, at full strength last year, the Cowboys did a real, I mean, I was at the game. It was electric, guys. The way the Cowboys went out and played that one, they were considered huge underdogs. No one knew what to expect from, obviously, Dak Prescott coming back from the injury, and they almost had that game. And, I mean, they almost did.
You know, Todd Bowles actually went on. I was listening to his presser this morning as well, and he talked about what was the biggest takeaway from last year's game. And he said that this year they need to work on not having 11 penalties and 4 turnovers for this game like they did last year. So I thought that was really interesting, too, because I don't think anybody expected the Cowboys to play like they did. I don't think we knew what to expect from Dak going into that game. First and foremost, he was coming off of the injury. We had no idea what we were going to see. And the fact that they almost came away with the win was huge.
And you know what? The Cowboys played a fairly error-free game. I mean, when you look at the penalties, let's see. They were...
their biggest penalties came on the drive where they needed to go score. And they had... It was right before they gave the ball back to Tom Brady. They had the opportunity to go score. They had 2 holds.
Yeah. They had 8 penalties for 55 yards. When you look at the Bucs, they had 11 penalties for 106 yards in this game. That's the other thing we haven't really addressed this week is the importance of the Cowboys playing fairly disciplined football because it's the penalties that get them in trouble.
Yes. Preach, James.
Especially in the preseason. So thanks, Jasmine. So that's something that they've really got to keep an eye on. And one of the knocks, I think, on Mike McCarthy and the staff is how disciplined are these guys within the context of the game. And I think when you look at this offensive line and the youth and some of the inexperience, I think it's gonna be an issue.
Well, and that's why I think that going into, we haven't really talked about penalties. I mean, the importance of special teams in this game, I think, changes things. It's so crazy if you go back and start looking at how many times the Cowboys would score on drives, but they were going 70, 80 yards. Not having a returner played such a role, and I think this offense's lack of success in spaces, and with we're hoping to get returns and some good field position from Turpin.
Does Cavante take one to the house, ladies?
Yes.
I think so.
I'm telling you, I could see them. I could see first play of the game last year. They came out big play with Amari Cooper, just right out the gate, deep in your end zone. I think Turpin we need a big play right now.
And actually, with that, I'm looking at some of the game notes here. With a kickoff return for a touchdown, Cavante Turpin would be the first player in team history to return a kickoff for a touchdown in the season opener. So I would like to see that happen for him. I just think,
especially now when you don't have a ton of tape on him. Like, if it's going to happen, I think it's going to happen earlier in the season.
Yep.
And also the Bucs have a rookie punter. So that is something to look at because they do have to. You would expect for them to be trying to plan to try to kick away from him. But what if you now listen? I know TP everybody wants him to be RB1, but what if you don't give them a choice, but to give it to one of their best guys, or they have to kick it? He has to be booting that thing and getting a touchback. It is going to be a lot of pressure for kickers if Cavante Turpin comes out and starts showing what he can do. He's already put it on display, but let him rip something in the season. Listen, it's just going to be touchback.
Yeah.
People are going to be terrified.
Yeah, I actually think that, like, special teams, though, I'm glad you guys brought that up because I think it's going to be major for us because, again, penalties, we haven't talked a lot about that. This team has struggled mightily. I think they led the league last year in penalties. I mean, it's like we're winning all the wrong awards, right? And so this year they started off and it didn't look amazing. So hopefully they can really lock that down. But another guy who, Jane, I know you've covered on multiple teams, who I think is going to have to make an impact this weekend is Brett Maher. I mean, this has been an issue for this team for a minute. I like to joke a lot about it on Twitter. It's become a little bit of my shtick. But genuinely, that has to be locked down this game because especially when you're playing a Tom Brady, there might be chances where as much as we don't want it, you do have to settle for the field goal because their defense is showing up. Like, you might have to, and you got to know that you can get those points on the board because, again, when you're facing a quarterback on the other side, as good as our defense is, anytime you give him, even if it is limited, he's going to maximize it. So every point counts this upcoming weekend, every point.
And I love that listening to him, all it took was him going to New Orleans and learning a few things, and he's changed. It's just, what is it they say that even in dating, it's like, don't show me, don't tell me, show me.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with Brett Maher.
If your words match your actions.
It's another person. Prove it. Show
Right.
me. This is a show me year.
And just
for
as
so
a
many guys on this
reminder,
roster.
the Cowboys had 127 penalties last season. That cost them 1,103 total yards.
That's wild.
Within one season.
That's so wild.
Just the reminder there that if that's not a wake-up call for every single person within the Cowboys, hey, first thing I want to see addressed is that. I don't want to see penalties. I want to see a penalty-free game. That's a concern, is the penalties.
There's only one word for that, and it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
It literally can't happen. And especially when you have guys on this team that are rookies and that are newer. Again, whenever we talk to Duke Manyweather, he always talks about fundamentals, right? And going back to the basics. Like, you don't have to have the longest arms or have to be the biggest guy. You play to your strengths, but you have to play a clean game. That is going to be paramount. Again, like I said it earlier, this team has to check almost every box to be able to show up against Tampa Bay.
Well, when we come back on the other side of the break, I do want to ask each one of you what you're most confident in and least confident in as we head into this game against the Bucs on Sunday. But before I let you go, the Girls Talk, Boys Talk show is sponsored by Jigsaw Dating, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is. It's a non-fungible token.
Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Brace yourself for an existential question. Has your butt been having enough fun lately? Have you been treating it well? Has it been going places? If not, then it's about time you start using SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best way to get your butt tickets to live events. Just ask the thousands of other butts who have rated it the #1 ticketing app. So what are you waiting for? Download the app now or visit SeatGeek.com to get tickets to sports, concerts, and live events and make your butt happy. SeatGeek. Get your seat in a seat.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Welcome back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, brought to you by Jigsaw Dating, the official dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Jane Slater, joined by Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, and Kelsey Charles, who is joining us from Austin.
It's Friday.
All right, guys, it is Friday. It
feels more like a
felt
Monday.
like a long week and not a long week because it's been a short week.
Yeah.
But man, we're back into the grind. I've got basically a 19-hour day on Sunday to look forward to with the NFL Network
Wear
pregame
comfortable
show.
shoes.
Exactly.
If we learned anything this week, it's wear
Listen,
those
I could have told
shoes.
Dak that. I'm a pro when it comes to, I pack literally a pair of flip-flops when I go to the stadium because it is such a long day and there's so much walking.
Yeah.
But before we went into the break, I asked you guys, What are you most confident in and least confident? I want you guys to sort of stew on that, marinate on that as we head into the break. Aisha, I'll start with you. What are you most confident heading into this game and least confident in?
I'm most confident in whatever defensive game plan that Dan Quinn has. I'm most confident in what adjustments he's going to make, because I think that's something I saw him do pretty well last year, is second half adjustments with the defense. So I have faith that he will be able to adjust to there not being a whole bunch of tape on the Bucs at the beginning. It's the beginning of the season, not knowing what to expect. What I don't have faith in, I suppose.
Lay it on us.
That's hard. What do I not have faith in? Tater tots.
I mean, if you need help, I can give it.
Yeah, Kelsey's like, I'm ready to jump in. Let's go.
Yeah, throw it out there, because I'm struggling.
I mean, honestly, I'm with you. This defense, I'm really excited for them. And again, it's such a breath of fresh air, because it feels like I remember the days of literally bringing in guys off the street where you're like rotating the bottom fourth of the barrel and getting guys who own smoothie shops, right? Who are starting on plugging them in on your starting line. So I go from that to where we are now. And talking to some folks in the building, I mean, they're like, listen, you're going to have to watch this defense. They're going to be good, and everyone knows they're going to be good, but I don't think y'all realize how good they're going to be. So I really hope that does come to fruition. So, yes, I'm with you on that. Micah Parsons specifically. I mean, if he was that dynamic in his first year, I really genuinely believe he can only go up from here. So I'm excited to see his growth. But I will tell you, I know that everyone wants me to buy into this O-line. I know that Tyler Smith has potential. I know that Zach Martin can be that veteran presence. And I have trust in Dak, but I don't feel confident about the time or space that they're going to give him. I don't feel confident about the pocket not collapsing on him. And honestly, think about it, such a traumatic injury that he's gone through. How can you possibly 100% mentally overcome that and not, maybe, I don't know, make some errors?
Especially when you're having a little tightness on that ankle this week. I think that's going to play in.
I do, too. So that's where I'm at. And I'm sorry, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but that's where my head's at.
Yeah.
I think I'm most confident in the amount of pressure that the defense is going to be able to put on Tom Brady. And again, I think anybody who's not confident in the defense at this point just isn't paying attention. I think they are not paying enough attention to the Cowboys, or they're not Cowboys fans, or in this area, right? So I think the amount of pressure specifically that they are going to be able to put on Tom Brady in general, but early in the game, and we've talked about this all week, how key it is to get that done early, establish that that's what we're doing, and let the dominoes fall where they may at that point, whether it be interceptions and sacks and all of that come with that. I'm very confident in the amount of pressure that, you have your Micah Parsons, you have your D-Laws that can really lay on Tom Brady early on. I think something I'm not confident in, we just spoke about it. That's the penalties. How can I not have trust issues with the Cowboys with 127 penalties in one season? I know preseason we didn't see any of the starters at all preseason. However, we still saw a good amount of penalties in preseason. So that added to my trust issues with the Cowboys. So now I'm a little set back in hoping that those penalties aren't going to cost us a game, because I think they have before. I think if they don't, if they allow this to continue, they will this season. And I really hope the discipline side of things with those penalties are corrected. And I understand we're playing with rookies. That's why I am so nervous about it, is because we're playing with new guys here who are inevitably going to get some of those penalties because they're new. It is their first season. It's their first regular season game. But I think the penalties is what I have the most confidence in going forward, because
the most confidence that they will be heavily penalized.
I have the confidence that we're going to see it. And unfortunately,
you're not wrong.
I'm just trying to be honest with y'all. I don't want to see Cowboys fans on Twitter, oh, we're seeing penalties again. Are we surprised? Are we shocked?
Taxes.
Oh my goodness. I trust me, I don't want to see them, but do I think it's inevitable, especially for this first game? Yes, I do. And I think this is the team, the Bucs are the team you cannot have the penalties with, because that is going to cost you the game last 2 minutes with Tom Brady being Tom Brady. That if it was not Tom Brady, I wouldn't be so worried about it, but he always finds a way to come back. And again, we know how I feel about the amount of trauma Tom Brady has inflicted on me as a Cowboys fan growing up with a very heavy following Cowboys family that cusses, screams at the TV anytime that happens. I don't want to do that again.
I just heard some major fool me once, shame on me, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on
Trust
me
issues
coming from you right now. Major, my friend.
Sorry. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here either, Kels, but the penalties worry me overall.
What are you thinking, Jane?
I think the receiver that I'm most confident is Dalton Schultz. I think it's a big prove-it year for him. I think he's frustrated. He didn't get the long-term deal, and whether it's here with Dallas or whether it's somewhere else, I think he wants to show his ability to go out and garner the type of contract that he didn't get. So I think we've already seen that connection. There was a reason why they franchise tagged him. It's because he was a bit of a security blanket for the Cowboys. And I anticipate that he's going to have a big game on Sunday. So that's who I have the most confident. The person I have the least confidence in is Kellen Moore and his ability to stick to the run. I think that they're going to struggle with the run early, and then I think they're going to move away from it again the way that they did last year. And I get it. Like I said, we've already gone through the stats with the loaded box and what they typically show them defensively. But they keep telling me they've got all these plays in the book for Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. Again, don't tell me, show me. Mm-hmm. I have the least confidence in their commitment to the run and sticking with the run if they start feeling challenged early in the game.
And that's something we've seen over and over again, even just on the outside. I think when you see that the run's not working and when they can't find that hole, then Dak gets heavily into the pass game. You're going to see long targets to people like Dalton Schultz, to the CDs. Last season we saw it a lot to Amari. But
I think Noah Brown could have a big game here on this one, too.
I would love to see
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that talking about the run game, if you're going to attack Tampa, you want to avoid Vita Vea and the middle of that Hicks. You want to avoid the middle of that defense. It sounds like attacking the edges and going at their edges to me is going to be your best chance. And the Cowboys, the very few times they did against the Bucs last year, TP was able to capture that edge. So one of the things that you're talking about, Jane, is the run schemes. How are they running the ball? Are we doing quick outs, bubble screens? What are you doing?
Don't show me a jet sweep.
Tater tots. How are they designing the runs? Because if you're designing runs just straight up the middle, just trying to do power on power, that's not going to work with the middle of this defense. Go at their edges, make their secondary come up and have to tackle. Try to get those linebackers out your way and try to get to the second level. It's easier said than done, but Jake Ferguson, who Mike McCarthy
spoke. Show me your 2 tight end set.
Well, Mike McCarthy spoke highly of Jake Ferguson and what they expected of him coming out the draft and what he's shown, especially as a blocker now. So the tight end's gonna have to come play. They're gonna have to get off blocks and catch some balls.
I'm glad you mentioned Vita Vea because he also did a press conference this morning, and it was funny because they asked him, well, what has changed from the defense this year this year from last year? And he said, nothing. Nothing's changed. And then the reporter goes, well, what about this guy and this guy and this guy? And he's like, yeah. Sir,
that's how he should.
But he's confident. But
right.
he's confident and he knows. And so somebody he also spoke about a lot was Zach Martin and how key Zach Martin is for the O-line. So he talked very highly of him, saying that a player that doesn't have that, those amount of penalties and it's a good challenge for him to go against, and it's a good challenge for the defense overall to play somebody like Zach Martin.
Because he didn't play last year.
Exactly.
No, and I loved the fun fact that Mike McCarthy threw out this week. He said he was told walking into one of the press conferences that Zach Martin has more Pro Bowls than he has penalties, and that's what you love to see. And that's actually kind of crazy when you consider how long he's played, that he has more Pro Bowls than penalties. All right, we are getting ready to wrap the show up. One of my favorite segments is past interference.
Got you.
Give me a nugget.
All right. So because we are almost into game day, I wanted to make this a little positive for Cowboys Nation that's listening. So I just wanted to throw it way back to the first time these two teams actually met. Dallas hosted Tampa Bay on October 2nd, 1977, and won 23-7. And this was in front of 55,316 fans at, here's a throwback, Texas Stadium. They started this with a 6-game win streak against the Bucs that would last until 1990. So let's hope this is the first of our 6-game win streak. And by we, of course, I mean the Cowboys. Let's hope this is the Cowboys' 6-game win streak against the Bucs. We're going to start it. We're going to see it. And
right now,
we're going to beat Tom Brady.
Because right now, Tom Brady has a dubious one of 6-0 against the Cowboys. All right, give me a tweet of the day that you loved.
All right, so this is a tweet from yesterday. This is from the Mina Kimes. She said, pretty unfair the Bills have a QB who's an actual Buffalo. I know you're like, what does that have to do with the Cowboys? And I'll tell you, watching Josh Allen stretch that ball across that goal line yesterday just made me think, like, man, my QB used to do stuff like that. My QB used to flip over guys going into the end zone. My QB,
because he was young and he wasn't a franchise guy.
Yeah, my QB
they won't let him do that anymore.
No kidding.
And this
especially
is something
with the
that
bionic ankle.
And this is something we've talked about. I am a firm believer that a lot of Dak's running ability is why he is the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And I understand that the injury happened. This is a year removed. You give grace when a player is recovering from something that traumatic. I understand the coaching staff pulling back, telling him to be careful, and then the calf, all that stuff. But seeing Josh Allen navigate, knowing when to use his legs and make defenses pay is something that Dak had the ability to do, and I think he still has the ability to do. But you could tell last year that defenses knew. They knew he was not going to take it. And I want him to come out this game and see opportunity, even though, he figured out what the ankle thing is.
He's smart.
I want him to take those opportunities just like Josh Allen, because eventually they're going to have to respect it. There's respect that comes on the other side of the ball. There's an honor of, okay, this guy has the legs to move. And I just felt like on film last year, people were daring us to. Okay, dare me this year. Get it done, Dak. Make them pay. We've seen stiff arms too. I'm ready. Like, I understand we're cautious.
That was so fire, though.
Yeah. Yes.
Josh Allen.
Yes.
That was such a great game, and it got me so excited for football this weekend. It was exciting to do this show with you guys this weekend. For those of you that have continued to tune in each day as our following has continued to grow, thank you for that. We appreciate you.
Very much.
And on Monday, of course, we will break down this game, and hopefully we're talking about a Cowboys W.
Let's go.
Yeehaw.
Let's go, Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?